Hello and welcome to day 77 in this quest for a 2000 rapid rating on chess.com. So let's find an opponent for today and begin. All right. Let's see. We have white. So I've been playing with e4, so I'll continue with that. So e5, knight to f3 will attack the pawn. All right. So now let's play the Italian game, see how they respond here. All right. All right, so this is interesting. Bishop to e7. I probably should just go ahead and castle. So I'll go ahead and do that. All right, so now they attack my knight here. Or excuse me, my pawn with their knight. So, what should we do? We'll just play this. And then, let's see. Should we play c3? I think we'll go ahead and do that. And all right, so we have an attack here. So do we pick that off? Probably. That's probably a good choice. All right. We'll go ahead and knock that pawn out. All right, so they attack there. What do we have next? Do we just play h3 to avoid this pin on our knight here? I'm going to say yes. Probably want to go ahead and do that. Now what? What do we have next here? Okay, so they play this. That might be a waste of time because I wasn't threatening to do anything with this bishop. It does kind of limit the scope of my bishop. All right, so now do I want to attack this pawn? Probably with my rook. So we'll go ahead and do that. Just line up on this, or excuse me, attack the pawn with the rook and the knight here. I have to be careful though. If the position opens up here, well, let's see. And he could just try and attack my bishop here. All right, so we have that. Now we should probably just go ahead and develop this knight, and then maybe we can jump it up here and attack this bishop. The only thing I don't like about that is if he moves back here, this pawn could be unprotected here. If he jumps up here, All right, I think we'll just retreat our bishop back. Because, if I develop my knight up here and he attacks my bishop, oh, and he could jump over here as well. All right. Should I try and go for space as well? All right, we'll just go ahead and do that. We'll try and grab space on the queen side here. Okay, so he plays that to keep the amount of space equal. Now, do we jump up here, threatening his knight and this pawn at the same time? Well, then he could just drop back. So I don't know if that would do much for us. Okay. Well, we have to do something about this bishop as well here. So, I don't really want to give up my bishop pair. I'm kind of in a clustered up position. Let's drop back and then reposition this bishop here. We'll do that. We'll drop back, reposition the bishop to here. Now, what should he do with his bishop? Well, he could develop it here, targeting this. I would drop down to here to help protect. Then what do we have? Okay, so he does that. All right, we'll go ahead, play that. And what else can I do? Maybe I can reposition this knight here, then up here, targeting this pawn. That's another possibility as well. Okay. Well, now what? Do I knock out that and give up my bishop pair? Maybe. Maybe. Double his pawns up. Then I have a pawn majority over here. Okay. I think that's what I might end up doing here. All right, we'll just go ahead and knock that out. Then we can jump our, move our pawn up here, attack his bishop. With this, now we're attacking his bishop. Then we can get our knight repositioned. Now, if he wants to keep his bishop pair, what can he do? drop over to here maybe, threaten to go here, attack my knight. You know, he could just take my bishop. Then my queen ends up here. But the question is, where can this knight go? You know, probably need to bring the knight into the center here. You know, then what? He could jump up here, maybe try and get up here at some point. Jump up here and target the bishop. He'll probably want to move his knight. Well, I don't know. I mean, I have a pawn majority over here, so that is not bad. Okay, now I should knock out his bishop pair. That'll help pull his queen over. So, if we go ahead and do that, all right, we'll go ahead and knock that out of there. Then we'll position this knight to a better spot here. So there. Now what? Okay. Do we attack his queen? Do we jump up here? Then what? If this knight ends up here, I don't know. I think we'll stay there for the moment. Do we attack his queen? Attack the queen. Probably should do that. Attack his queen. All right. Do I go here attacking his queen? Then, you know, what does he do? If he captures me, it pulls my knight over to here. That kind of brings my knight back. I don't know if I want to do that. What else can we do here? Okay, what are the other options? We have to move this queen. Well, I guess we could go here maybe. If we go here, just attack this pawn, then what will he do? You know, and then how do we continue? All right. And where is that knight going? All right. Anyway, we need to start attacking. Need to do something. Get an attack going. And probably need to double these rooks up in a hurry. So I don't know, bring this rook up here. All right, we'll go ahead and do that, double our rooks. The issue is he going to push this pawn? He could push this pawn, and then if I capture, his queen captures, ending up here. Now, I'll also have to watch with him, start pushing his pawns forward to here. I capture, his queen could end up here. He could move his king and start an attack here. All right. Well, where is that knight going? I mean, I guess he could jump down here. All right, we'll go ahead and do that. All right, so this is a pretty good little maneuver here. I probably should trade. All right, we'll knock that out. We'll go after his queen. Like that. Then what? I don't know. It's not looking good though, because he can just move his queen here, lining up. And then what do I do? And do I think about going here? Yeah, so his best move is probably to just forget about this pawn, back his queen up here, and then what do I do? Then I guess I would have to move this rook up. I could try and move this rook up to the 7th rank. No, I can't do that because of the bishop. So where do I put this rook? If I move here, he could attack. But that would kind of let my queen swing over and check him. All right, so he just goes ahead and attacks me. So we'll go ahead and do that. Good news is we have doubled rooks here. Okay. So now, where do we want, let's see. What should we do here with this? All right, so in this game, we have a pawn majority over here. We have to figure out how to use this pawn majority to our advantage. Let's see. Normally you want to push the unopposed pawn. So, I don't know, our knight is kind of stuck here. If we do this, all right, I don't know. I'm thinking we should probably do that. Just push forward here. Just start pushing the unopposed pawn. If they go here, we can capture. All right. Okay. So now we should just keep pushing forward, I think. Or do we go here after this? Maybe we go there. We need to find a way to do something about this bishop. And what are his weaknesses? And what if we push forward here? He could just attack. All right. Okay, so I'm really kind of not sure about the best way forward here. Should we move our king over to here? Maybe that's a good choice. We'll just move our king towards the center. If we're not sure what to do, we'll just start with that. Okay, so he goes after that. Now we just go there and protect. The only problem is we're letting his bishop, possibly swing down here and then land in here at some point. I didn't mean to highlight that red, but okay, so let's see. He starts pushing there. We could just push forward, but then he could try and swing into here. All right, all right. All right, we probably should just push forward here. So we'll just do that. Keep the pawns on the same colored squares as his bishop. Get ours on the other color here. We have this attack there. Probably need to move our, I don't know, I need to be able to capture here, but the problem is then he's going to be able to swing down in here. The problem is if I capture, he could go here, which is not going to be too good for us. All right. Okay, I guess we're doing that. All right, well, that is interesting because that just lets me pick that off. So he just made a mistake there. Now he's resigning. All right, well, that's unfortunate because that was a pretty, he was playing a pretty solid game. He just made an oversight there, I guess. Okay. Well, unfortunate that my opponent made that mistake. So he was playing pretty solid, or, he or she. So let's do the game review here. Okay, so it looked like I played at 85.2 versus their 81.2. Now the problem is the game was kind of even here, and then white, looks like I had an edge that I held for quite a while, and then it dipped back to close to even, and then it was even here, and I guess it looks like I made an inaccurate move here that swung the game in black's favor. And I believe it had to do with, well, we'll take a look at it here. We'll just do the review. So looks like I had two great moves. And then for the bad moves, I had one inaccuracy. They had four. But I had two mistakes, and they only had one, so good for them. I had one miss. They had one miss. And then they had that blunder at the end. So this says, way to keep your eyes open. Grabbing that free piece saved you from a worse position. So yeah, my position, I don't know, it wasn't looking too great. We'll take a look at that. So the quick game review by the autopilot here, or whatever this is, that zips through everything pretty fast. And then we'll do an analysis and dig a little bit deeper. All right, so let's see here. All right, so it says this was good to go ahead and give up the bishop pair, capture that knight. And it says there was only one good move, and after taking some valuable thinking time, you found it. You're forcing your opponent to double pawns. And then it kind of open this file up, although they could have just fought for this open e file. But they're left with those doubled pawns. All right, so it looks like that was good to go ahead and take that knight. This wins a pawn, which I guess I did not see how I could win a pawn there. Okay, so that's something we'll have to look at in the analysis. How am I able to win a pawn? All right. Well, another thing to take a look at. So this move was a mistake. Pushing this pawn forward, it looks like that didn't help me. I probably should have left it the way it was here. Maybe tried to reposition my knight. I don't know. We have a lot of stuff to take a look at here. It said you had an advantage, but now the game is close to equal. All right, so definitely something else we'll have to take a look at. And this was bad. I kind of wondered about this move because I'm thinking that they can push forward here, attacking my knight. And then what do? I have to take, and then oh man, then what do? I mean, maybe I could try and go back this way. But anyway, if they push their pawn and I capture, and then what do? Maybe recapture, chasing my knight. Where does the knight go? Maybe I have to go up here. I don't know. It's not looking too good, or I have to retreat back and try and come back around. But then they might have this move here, attacking this pawn. What do? Maybe I have to swing over here and just play defense, and that's usually not a good way to play with your rooks. Okay, moving on. They just made this blunder at the end, so, and then resigned. Okay, so here it says you had a pretty competitive game there. The opening was balanced. You were a cut above your opponent in the middle game. Well, I don't know about that. I had that, I was able to take advantage or capitalize on the blunder that they made, but I think they were playing pretty decent in that game. All right, so 97.1 versus 96.1 in the opening. So a little bit ahead in the opening. The middle game, 77.5 versus their 71. Okay, so I played at 1850 versus their 1750. So let's look at the analysis and take a look at this from the beginning. They played a little different variation of the Italian game, maybe, or played it in a little different way than what I've seen here recently. It looks like it was still book moves. So e4, e5, knight to f3 attacking the pawn. They defend, and now bishop to c4. This is the Italian game. So they play bishop to e7, which is a book move. And I'm going to have to brush up. I need to, I guess, study these different openings that I'm playing, because now I can't quite remember what was best to play against this. Computer says to either go ahead and castle, which I believe is what I did, or play knight to c3, which, maybe that's a good possibility, because with knight to c3, you could try and jump up here and attack the bishop, maybe. But what would they do? They don't want to go down this way, or you could capture. They could move in this direction, I guess. All right. So in the game, they played bishop to e7. I just go ahead and castle, which is still, we're in book moves here. Now the computer recommends they play knight to f6, which is what they did. So now d3. What was the most recommended move here? Looks like computer likes d4 the best here. d4. All right. So after d4, they would capture. Then we capture. Then they should just go ahead and castle. That way their king is not stuck here in the center. Okay, so I decided to play d3, to kind of, that's a little bit more passive, but I wanted to see what they would, how they would play next. So they castled, and then here, looks like an immediate h3 is recommended by the computer. So I played c3, so we're still in book moves. They could have gotten rid of my bishop pair immediately by this move. Knight to a5, attacking my bishop. And then what do? I would have to drop back to here. And then they could capture, which would help develop my queen, I guess. Or I could capture with the pawn towards the center. Actually, no. If they attack me, computer recommends b5, bishop to b5. Okay, I played this variation in the past. So if the knight jumps over here attacking me, I can go up to b5 with the bishop. Then if the pawn attacks me, I can swing down here, and eventually move back to safety, which I remember playing a game like that and keeping the bishop pair. All right, so d5, was that the best move? Computer doesn't like that as much. We're still in book moves here, but now the best thing to do, of course, is just capture with the pawn. The knight captures, and now looks like rook to e1 immediately would be a decent move. What did I play? h3 to avoid this pin. So after that, now it actually wants me to play this immediate a4 move, gaining space on the queen side. So with h3, this says that black is in the lead now. So it did not like that move. Let's see, they played h6, and now white is back in the lead. It looks like knight to b6 would have been better. So let's take a look at that. Knight to b6. Which, I don't know, I was kind of wondering if at some point he would play that. Knight to b6, attacking and driving me back. It looks like the best thing to do... Surprisingly, they want me to play bishop to b5, but if they would play that, I would probably retreat back, keeping my bishop pair. Let's see. They actually like bishop to b5 better. They said that bishop to b3 keeps black in the lead. And then here, bishop to f5 is the recommended move, lining up on the king and aiming down through the center. All right, so back to the game. h6 was played, which did limit the scope of my bishop. Well, this battery is doing a good job of keeping pieces out of here anyway. So rook to e1, computer says, that is best. Now bishop to f6 was played. The computer likes that move, protecting the pawn. What is best now? Knight at b to d2. All right, that makes sense. I should have developed that knight because, I don't know, it was just a mess trying to get these queenside pieces developed. But instead I played a4, which is still the second best move and keeps white with the edge. So a5 was played. Computer likes the developing bishop move, bishop to f4 instead, which would start piling a lot of pressure on this d pawn. Okay, so I played bishop to b3. Computer says that's good, but once again, it wanted me to develop that knight. So now we have this, the best move is played, bishop to f5. So good job by my opponent developing that bishop and attacking this pawn. And now, let's see, knight to a3. It wants that move immediately, but I go ahead and just fortify this pawn. But that swings the game in black's favor. All right, so knight to f4 is played, and that is a mistake. Jumping the game in white's favor here. So let's see, knight at d to e7. The computer says that that is best. Knight at d up here to e7. Okay. So why would that be best? From there, I guess you could jump maybe to here. But that kind of blocks the scope. Well, okay, it protects this bishop, which is unprotected. You know, maybe I could try and push this pawn at some point. But here it says I should just play bishop to e3 now. And black would have an edge. Okay, so knight to f4. I go ahead and capture, which the computer likes that move. It says that's the only move that puts white in the lead here. So they recapture, and it leaves them with doubled pawns here. And then we have a queenside pawn majority. So just remember, whenever you have a pawn majority like this, so 4 pawns to 3, usually you want to push the unopposed pawn up the board, you know, and then if the c pawn trades off for the d pawn, then you can start pushing the c pawn and so on until you know, one of your pawns gets closer to queening. So that's just a good endgame strategy. All right, so let's see. They capture. Now it looks like d4 is best, which we did find, pushing that unopposed pawn. This kind of keeps pieces out of e4, opens up our bishop. So here they should have either captured my bishop or played knight to e7. So what did they do? They played queen to d7, but computer likes a capture of my bishop better. Let's see here. So now the second best move was to capture the bishop, which I did because I wanted to get rid of the bishop pair. But it looks like once again we should have just developed this knight to d2 here. But we capture. Now the computer's saying that's best, which it does get rid of the bishop pair. But on the other hand, it brings his queen closer, you know, further up the board towards my king side, where that queen is covering more squares. All right, so after the queen lands here, I play knight to a3, which is the second best move, and I normally don't want to put a knight on the edge of the board like that. So it looks like the best thing to do would have been queen to b3 immediately. So queen to b3, attacking this pawn. Second best would be just developing this knight, which, you know, that probably would have been a good move. Just develop the knight, threaten to jump up here and attack their bishop. All right, so I developed my knight to the edge of the board, which the computer says that's still good, and white still has an advantage or an edge here by 0.73. So knight to e7 is played by my opponent. and the computer says that is the best move. And now queen to b3. But instead, the computer likes this move, jumping the knight back towards the center. And yeah, that would be better, because at that, then I could possibly jump up here, and kind of land on their side of the board where that knight would be stronger, compared to where it is now. It's not so great. So they just protect the pawn that I was attacking. It looks like it would have been better to bring the queen into the center, and then I, probably would capture. But if the queen, let's see, if the queen went to the center, d5, actually it looks like it's better to just move forward. That way, if my queen is captured, I can recapture with the knight and have that knight land in a better position there. All right, in the game, they protect their pawn. I go ahead and start doubling my rooks, but it looks like it would have been better to just immediately jump up here with this knight. So their knight repositions. Now it looks like the computer says rook at f to d8 would have been better. So it wants me to immediately put my queen up there, which maybe I did that later in the game. So knight to h4, computer identifies this as an inaccuracy. So rook at f to d8 would have been better. Rook at f to d8. What does this do? Well, it prevents your unopposed pawn from pushing forward up the board. If the queen centralizes and you capture, it pulls the rook down into the game. Maybe then you can double up the rooks on the d file. All right, so now after that move, the recommendation is knight to c4. That could possibly end up in a pin on your knight to the queen. Rook to e4, another option. All right, anyway, let's see what happened. They played knight to h4. We go ahead and capture. The computer says that's a great move. I don't know how great it was. It was just that, the knight is starting to encroach on my king side. The queen could possibly land here, start some threats. I just wanted to knock that knight out of there. It looks like that was the best option. All right, so we capture. They recapture, of course. So now I was kind of worried about, we have a pin of this pawn on the rook here. I was thinking, man, if he starts pushing this pawn, well, if he did that, oh yeah, he could push that. I can't push this forward because then my rook would be captured. So I guess there's actually there is an option of attacking the queen up here with my rook and then pushing forward maybe. Well, but it depends where this queen goes. If the queen keeps lined up here, then if I push forward, he'll just pick off this pawn maybe. Well, maybe not if... Yeah, I guess he could do that because if he picks this off, he's threatening a mate right here. So a lot of crazy stuff going on. I think my opponent, kind of had a better, line up for attack against my king than what I had going on over here on the queen side. All right, queen to b5 is played. It looks like it would have been better to attack the queen immediately here with the rook. Why I didn't do that, I don't know. I mean, I guess I was thinking if the queen moved away, Then maybe the bishop could reposition and attack my rook, but that's still a lot of time. Oh, and if the queen moved away. Oh man, okay, that would have been better, because I can attack the queen and then maybe pick off this pawn over here. So maybe let's take a look at that. Rook to e5. There. Okay, the best move is queen to d7. Queen to d7. Okay, because, well, I don't know. Maybe then you try and go after this pawn, but queen to g6 looks pretty interesting. You line up on the king, threaten to push this pawn forward. You know, and that could cause problems. So I don't know. This is what I was kind of thinking and worrying about in the game. If they played this, okay, now do I really want to go after this? I don't know. If I go after that, then there might be a threat of attacking this rook. I would have to capture maybe. Then he takes control of the e-file. It looks like queen to d1 would have been best. Oh yeah, to cover the push of this f-pawn. Well, now they're saying bring the knight forward. Okay, before this drags on too much, let's finish this out. So queen to b5 was played. They captured my queen, which computer said it would have been better to keep the queen. Yeah, and this is what I thought they were going to do. I thought they would just line up right here with queen to g6, you know, like that. And I was not sure, you know, what the best way forward would be here. So looks like rook to e4. Now they're saying move the queen over here. That would be better, which that makes a little more sense. Let's go back. Delete that move. All right. Yeah, this looks maybe a little better. Trying to protect here. Okay, so the problem is they could push this f-pawn and just threaten a mate in one here. If I push this pawn up and block, well, then they could just pick off my rook here. So, man, I don't know. It looked like they had more to me in the game. Okay, back to the game here. We swap off queens. Then we have rook at b to c8 to protect this pawn. Rook at b to c8, protecting the pawn. Computer does not like that. Looks like it would have been better to retreat the bishop. Retreat the bishop. Okay, so better. Computer likes that instead. And then king to f1, moving our king towards the center here. Okay, in the game, rook at b to c8. So what should we do then? Rook to e4 once again is the best move. So rook to e4, attacking this pawn. I kind of thought about that in the game, but I didn't think it would do much because they could just maybe push this pawn. Well, no, that would block their bishop out. So I guess then they would kind of be forced to bring their bishop up to protect that. Yeah, bishop to g5. So they would have to play that. Because if they push their g-pawn, it would really trap their bishop in over here on the edge of the board. And then Now the computer likes a retreat of the knight, and then we could reposition this knight, although it's saying king to f1 as well. All right, so in the game, we played d5, which was a mistake, and now the game is about even. So, not a good move. I guess, okay, I mentioned earlier you want to push your pawn majority, pushing the unopposed pawn first. But I guess the timing has to be correct also. And apparently, according to the computer, this was just bad timing. It was too early to go and push these pawns, already. So, and also there's a kind of a delicate balance between, in the end game, when your opponent has a bishop controlling one set of squares, these dark squares, one strategy would be to get your pawns on the opposite colored squares. That way the bishop could not attack those pawns at all. But the downside to that is that, or I should say, one advantage of leaving them on the dark squares is it limits the scope of the bishop. It kind of takes away squares. So that's something that you kind of have to just figure out over the board and with experience, when the right time is to do that, to move the pawns to the opposite colored squares as your opponent's bishop. All right, so d5, computer did not like that. But my opponent plays bishop to f6, and that is a miss. Rook at f to d8 would have been better. Just immediately lining up on this pawn. And then, then it's saying I could play knight to a7. Attacking the rook. They could just come after me, and then what do? I retreat back here, and then if they capture this, I could go ahead and capture this pawn. If the rook stays over on a8. All right, anyway, what does it recommend other than knight to a7? Rook to e4 once again. Oh man, just completely ignoring this pawn, going after. I don't know if I would want to do that, but anyway, I played, let's see here, bishop to f6. Now the best move is actually d6. And I don't know, maybe I looked at that in the game briefly, but I didn't think it was worth pursuing. But apparently that's the best move. So king to f1 was played, but it says I should definitely have played that. And then, let's see. Oh man, if they push forward after my knight with c6 here, it looks like knight to a3 is better. And then, anyway, the best move would be that, to just go ahead and pick that off. The knight captures, putting us in a good position here. Then rook to c7, protecting this pawn that the knight is attacking. Now what? Rook to e4, attacking this pawn, protecting this pawn. Oh, and we can jump back here and attack the rook. So now looks like bishop to g5, protecting. The king could move up to f1, and then rook to d8, attacking our knight. And then now we could either check here, driving the king back. what do we have? What is our option here? Rook to e8. King moves, then we pick off this. The bishop swings back up here. The other option is just rook to d1, protecting here. All right, anyway, that's one way the game could have gone. But I played king to f1, and now the game is even again. So we have rook at f to d8, the best move, going after the unprotected pawn. And now knight to a7, attacking the rook, or rook to e4, letting this pawn go. But I played c4. I wanted to keep this pawn. Now c6 is best. They played g5 to protect this pawn, but it would have been better to play. So this gives you the biggest advantage. Attacking there. Oh man, the recommendation is knight to c3. But man, I don't like that because the bishop captures, your b pawn captures. It just kind of leaves these pawns weak over here. So if you go ahead and capture like that, then recapture. Well, now it looks like knight to c3 is best. Or c3, knight to a3. Because c3, I mean, they could capture you and double those pawns up. So you go here. Oh man, but then rook to b8 is possible, which does not look too good. Now what do you do? c5. c5. Bishop just captures on b2. Okay, at this point, black would just be ahead. So, man. If c6 is played, it looks like knight to a7 is the best move here. But then after rook to a8, then what do you do? Capture. They don't even recommend capturing here. So we'll have to take a look at why. It looks like rook. Oh man, they recommend rook to f8 over here. So if you capture, then we have rook to e8, check. The king moves, giving up that rook, because if you have a capture, capture with check, king has to run. Well, now you have that, and the pawn will promote. All right, so that's pretty crazy. All right, let's get on with this, finish this out. c4 was played. Now g5, creating a pawn chain, protecting this f4 pawn. And I played f3 here. So, an inaccurate move. Better would have been rook to d1, apparently. Rook to d1. Huh. Okay, let's take a look at rook to d1. Rook to d1. And then, of course, they would play this because you can't capture, or they capture your rook. Now, knight to c3 is best. Okay, bishop capture. Oh, hold on. Now they're showing knight to a3. So let's take a look at that. Knight to a3 is better, so the bishop can't capture you. And then if black captures here, white is holding a slight edge. So the best move is that. Then rook at e to d2. Then the king moving forward. Now they're saying bishop. Anyway, you get the pair, or get the idea. It would be a little bit closer to even if we had all of that. Okay, so f3 is what I played. My opponent moves their king towards the center, which is best. And then I played b3. So b3 is a mistake. Better would have been knight to c3. Let's take a look at that. Knight, and now it's saying a3. Knight to a3. Yeah, it likes that move because if I play the c3, the bishop can capture, breaking my pawns apart here. Then it can go after this, and these pawns would be pretty weak. So even with that, this is the best way forward. c6, and black would be in the lead here. So my opponent was playing good, and it was unfortunate that they just had that blunder at the end. So c6, rook to d1, and then bishop up to e7, threatening my knight. And here it looks like the best thing to do is either h4 to break up these pawns, or rook at e to d2, just ignoring this. And what about, oh man, I don't know, this knight is kind of not doing much. So, probably something like that. If that is played, although now it's saying h4 would have been better. So I guess we could ignore that. Let's go back here. Delete that move, play h4. So it's saying that is best. They don't really want to capture here because then they'll have doubled pawn, two sets of doubled pawns. So now it's saying b6 is better. If they capture and then we recapture, then I guess we could double up and protect this pawn. And the knight would be able to jump forward. But they recommend b6. So, although now rook to d7 is what they want. So let's take a look at that. Rook to d7, delete that move. Rook to d7 here. Rook at e to d2, like that. Then bishop to b4, attacking. All right, then we would play what? Rook to d3 or d4. So if we played that, it says rook to d3 is better, which I agree because then the dark squared bishop cannot attack you. So rook to d3. Finally, they recommend capturing. Although now they want this move. So let's take a look at that first. Delete. So capture. Capture. Now they would capture anyway. And here the recommendation is to capture with the rook. Okay. Rook captures, pawn captures, rook to d8. And this pawn is going to be hard to protect here. Oh, now it's saying this would have been better. So let's take a look at that. Delete. So better would have been maybe that. immediately going after these pawns, then what should we do? Just start pushing forward. The king has to get in front of that pawn, and then what? Rook to b1, king to d7, capture, king captures, capture, capture, rook captures, capture, rook to f5. So this would have been a crazy endgame. King over to e6. Now we're able to capture here. They capture over here. They have this outside passed pawn. We have to do something with our king to get over here to stop this. Rook to e3. King to d2. And oh, that's an interesting move. But we can play that. And king starts moving in. Rook here. So I don't know. This is an interesting endgame. That's why I'm playing this out a little bit. Rook to g5. Captures. Captures with check. Oh man. King up to d3. King over to c5. King to c3. Rook to f2. Whew. Check. And now the recommendation, well, you'd think they would want to protect that pawn. Then what? Rook to f6. King to b5. Then we can go over here. And then what? King to c5 and let them pick this off. Although the rook could swing over there and protect that pawn. So king to c5 is one option. Rook to f1 is another one. You know, maybe I would go with that. Now it's saying that is best. And then rook to f5 check. King where up to b6. And man, I don't know. This is pretty tough. It's like our king is going to stop this one, but then we're starting to try and march the other one up the board. The recommendations are king to c3. I don't know if I'd want to do that. King to a3 keeps us in front of that pawn. Rook to f8. But I don't know. I would say this is probably a draw. But in the game, we had b3, and then my opponent made an unfortunate blunder with bishop to e7, which, I mean, I guess he was thinking about jumping in here and attacking this rook and just overlooked that my doubled rooks could capture here. So, you know, what does it say is best here? To just push forward. And then what should I do? Knight to a3. I don't know. In the game, I would probably do that. Capture. Then if they captured, the problem is these are going to be weak. Knight to a3 is best. Problem is this pawn is going to be an issue. So, you know, immediately rook to b8 attacking that pawn. Although now it's saying it would have been better to go that way, which I do remember looking at that in the game, thinking that the rook. Here, let's get rid of that. Rook to b8. Delete that move. So this is what I thought my opponent would end up doing. You know, swinging down here, attacking this. It doesn't like that now. Rook to d3 is an inaccuracy. Rook to b8 would have been better. So now the computer is kind of undecided. So if we go back, yeah, now it's saying that is best. Rook to b8. We should play c5. Huh. Saying that is our best option, c5. I mean, I don't know. I would probably... I guess it doesn't matter. If I go here, then the other rook could come down and they pile up on that. So it looks like that is the recommendation. Rook captures. Knight up to c4 attacking this. Bishop to c3 though. And then rook to c1. Bishop, or excuse me, rook to d5 attacking this pawn. Now it's saying it would have been good to just go back immediately. Oh man, yeah, see, my opponent had an advantage there, so it's unfortunate that they had that blunder. Then what? Knight to b6. Oof. They're just going to start munching on my piece. Oh, there's actually a little trick there. If they capture with the rook, there's a fork trick. So rook to d4. Now it's saying d3. Anyway, you get the idea. I won't play this video out even longer. So, anyway, that brought me up to 16-18. So I'm trying to get back up to where I was. I think I'd gotten up to like 16-25 or 30 at one point, and then I had a little meltdown and dropped back. But I'm definitely going to have to play a little bit more solid if I want to keep climbing. So feel free to leave comments, suggestions, requests if there are anything, any videos you'd like to see in the future. So thank you for watching and have a super chess day.